The Critic Gamer here, and we are live back with another Facebook stream. Hope you've enjoyed the stream so far, and thank you for joining us again. So today I've had to change things up a little bit because my plan was I was going to actually talk about snakes. We did the lizards yesterday, so I was actually going to show you the remaining snakes that I have in my care, but probably the most impressive snake that I have, the 6-foot boa Rocky, she decided that she wants to shed her skin, so her eyes have glazed over, which means that she's going into shed, so you don't really mess around with a 6-foot boa when she's going through that process. So I've had to abandon that, so I'm probably going to have to save that for another day when she's fully shedded, and we'll have a look at the snakes. So today I've decided I'm going to show you, we'll talk about Chenolians, which is the tortoise and turtles, because you've already seen Anastasia, my Horsefield tortoise, but I do have another 2 tortoises, and I also have a couple of turtles too. So I thought I'd show you those guys, so we're going to look at them. So first of all, we're going to show you the largest tortoise I have in my care. But at the moment, I'd say he's probably equal in size-wise to the last tortoise I'm going to show you for the day. But this is Hercules. Now Hercules here, he is Salcata tortoise, which is actually the 3rd biggest tortoise on the planet and the largest landmass tortoise on the planet. Also known as the African spurred tortoise. He is a little bit shy, as you can see, he's hiding away. He's roughly around about 2 years old, and he can live for up to over 120 years. So this tortoise is definitely going to outlive me. So it's going to be an impressive tortoise, around about this size when he's fully grown. It's massive tortoise, and he's only a couple of years old, but he's quickly grown in the last year or so. He's starting to show his size by getting bigger by the day. These guys are found in the Sahara, in Africa, and they're found in regions, quite arid, grassy wastelands is where you find these guys. Now they're excellent diggers. They have very sharp claws. So what they do is they dig themselves down into burrows, and they live in quite intricate cave systems, tunnel systems that they build themselves. And they'll sleep there most of the day during the hottest part of the day. And that's usually called burmates, so they'll stay in those nice, cool tunnel systems during the day, in the hottest of the African sun. Evening time and early morning is when they'll come out and do grazing. These guys will mainly eat grass. They are herbivores, so they're only a plant eater, so that's all they'll eat is plants. They don't eat bugs or any meats or anything like that, so it's just plants. So I do actually feed my Salcata tortoise here spring greens as a staple diet, but also he's got a lot of hay, so he does munch on the hay. That makes up most of his diet. Yeah, so they're quite a clever part of the ecosystem of the Sahara wastelands. Is because when they build their burrow, they tend to do it around about vegetation. These guys go through a lot of munching of plants, and obviously when they do their toilet, they're basically fertilizing the plants around their home, so that keeps a cycle going of plants, because obviously they eat a lot of these plants. Sometimes they'll eat the seeds, they'll poop out, and the seeds will grow into new plants, so it keeps the cycle going. So it's actually quite an important ecosystem of the wastelands, the Sahara, where these guys live. They get the name the spurred tortoise as well, because the front of his legs has got like jagged spikes, which are pretty cool looking. So that's another name for them, apart from the Salcata, the spurred tortoise. Okay. I'll let you guys have a closer look. Mackenzie, if you want to come in closer, we'll have a look at Hercules here. He's hiding. Pick him up and hopefully you guys can have it. Look. Here we go. You see him nice? Oh, he's hiding away. Hercules, you're going to come out. But you can see the jagged front legs. So as you can see, protection wise, he is a little bit wary because I don't tend to take this tortoise out at the moment because Anastasia, the Horsefield, is a similar size and she likes to come out. She's a lot friendlier, so she comes out. So I use her more, but obviously once Hercules gets to ginormous sizes, the oppressive tortoise will be coming out to show you guys. And that's when I'll start using Hercules a lot more. Now the shell, it's all part of the skeleton, it's all made of bone. And the material that covers the shell is similar to your fingernails, it's just a layer to the bone underneath. Now the way their shell works is so part of the skeleton, and their spinal cord is actually connected or fused to the top of the shell. So it'll come through their head, go up into the shell, go right the way down, and then back through their tail as well. So if you was to obviously have an X-ray of inside a tortoise, that's how they would look, which is quite fascinating. So there we go. And then obviously all the inside, all is full of the organs. So their stomach and intestines and hearts and liver and things like that are all in there as well. I don't know if you can hear making an awful noise, but that's Rooney. And you'll see Rooney. Now Rooney's a very active tortoise. We'll see him at the end because I want to explain a little bit more about difference between turtles and tortoise. Because obviously the tortoise are found on land and turtles are found in water. So that's how you can tell the difference. But obviously when they're out of water, how do you tell? And I'll explain that with my drawing that I've done. It's not a great drawing, but it's a drawing. So we'll say goodbye to Hercules for now. And we'll have a look at my picture and I'll explain a little bit more about it. Right, you, noisy. Okay, here we go. Right. We're going to come around here. So this is a pretty rubbish picture of a turtle. Right, so majority of turtles are found in the sea. So they're marine turtles. So you can tell them a mile off from a tortoise because they have these large flippers at the front and back. Because they are found in the water, and that's where they spend basically their entire life, especially the males, in water. Females will come onto land, onto beaches where they will dig holes and lay their eggs in the sand out with the tidal zone so that the eggs don't wash away, and they'll cover them back over again and they return back to the sea. And then the eggs will hatch. The baby turtles will come out of the sand and then they have to make that journey, a very long journey from the top of the beach down into the sea. And that's obviously a very, very difficult time of their life because usually there are things waiting for them like birds or other animals that can gobble them up before they make the sea. But even if once they make it into the sea, there's other things like fish that are waiting for them there as well. So being a baby turtle is not great. So yeah, the difference between obviously the turtles, the flippers, instead of having feet, but also the turtles, the marine turtles, their heads actually can't disappear inside their shell, like the tortoise could, and some special species of freshwater turtles can make their heads disappear. And I'll explain to you that in a second. These guys also have a long lifespan. They can live for hundreds of years too, especially the largest ones as well. But sadly, these guys, a lot of turtles in the wild are endangered because of the environment, the sea, but also the humans, destruction, waste in our oceans. So things like plastic bottles and plastics getting in the sea have a massive impact on wild turtles. So it's very important that we dispose of our plastic or cut down on using plastic products so that we don't have an impact on the ocean's wildlife. These guys in the wild eat things like jellyfish, and jellyfish are obviously translucent in appearance. And if you think of a plastic bag in water, the way it's floating around, it will look like a jellyfish, and that's why these guys end up eating them. And they can, obviously eating plastic bags is not a good thing. They can't digest it, so it causes impaction, which eventually leads to death. Also, fishing nets, discarded fishing nets, get tangled up on them. These guys can't breathe underwater. They just hold their breath. They need to be on the surface to breathe. So what they do is they do hold their breath for long periods of time. But if they get entangled by fishing nets, they can't return to the surface. So then eventually they will drown. So things like that is important too, because the oceans are an extremely important part of our planet, because the oceans actually give us the most amount of oxygen. You think that oxygen just comes from trees. It doesn't actually come from the ocean, through algae that grow in plankton that grow in the ocean. So that gives us the most amount of oxygen on our planet. So the oceans are extremely important. So we need to look after all wildlife that lives in the sea. But wildlife in general, we need to care about them. Okay, so that is a little bit about turtles, and I do have a turtle which I'm going to show you next. But first of all, I've got a few shout outs to do, because you guys have been contacting us, and so I do have a few shout outs. So a couple of birthdays today. First of all, I'm going to say Eliza Gomez, who's 6 today. Happy birthday, hope you have a great day. We also have another birthday this is for Ben Kirk, who is 8 today. Happy birthday, Ben. Again, I hope you have a wonderful day too. I'm going to also say a few shout outs of people that have been tuning in every day. So we've got Garley and Caden Hunter, thanks for tuning in, hope you're enjoying today's live stream. We also have Zara and Alexander Patterson, who also tune in every day too. Thanks for tuning in. And last of all, we have Ross, Rhiannon and Isla from Inverurie, who have been joining us as well. Thanks for tuning in, hope you are enjoying today's show. I'm going to show you a look at turtle. Here we go. I'll watch my fingers with this one. Right, here we go. This is Donatello, and Donatello is my yellow belly slider turtle. Now, they get the name the yellow belly slider turtle because if I do this, he's got a yellow belly. So the underneath of his shell, so obviously the shell goes right around. See him opening up his beak there. He's getting a little bit angry with me. Don't want to get my fingers anywhere near those beaks because they're very, very sharp, serrated beak there. So these guys, yellow belly slider turtles, and the majority of slider turtles are found in the southern east of the United States. So like Florida, so basically in the Everglades, they're swampy, slow-moving rivers is where you'd find these guys. So they do inhabit some quite dangerous territory. Things like alligators and crocodiles also live in their territory. These guys spend most of their day on land, so they do actually have webbed feet. So they have feet, but their feet goes off. But the feet, as you can see, he's quite capable, easily moving on land, and their feet are webbed so that they can swim. So they're excellent swimmers. So yeah, they are excellent swimmers. Angry. So really good swimmers, very, very fast. They're a lot faster in water than they are on land. Now these guys, like I said, they are reptiles, so they're cold-blooded creatures, so the warmer they get, the happier they are. So they will actually bask. So they tend to sit on top of logs, on rocks, next to the water, and bask in the sun. They can also be seen sitting on top of alligators' heads or backs, which is quite a dangerous thing because alligators do like to eat these guys. Their hard shell doesn't. The alligator's jaws are extremely powerful, that they can easily crush a turtle shell, no problem at all. Off you go. Hi. Where you going? Yeah. Come on here. So the yellow belly slider turtles. If you live in Aberdeen and you go to Dutty Park, the Winter Gardens, there are a lot of these guys that live in there. Because sadly, these, I believe you can no longer get these guys in pet shops now, because they are actually on the invasive species list now, I believe. So we can't own these guys as pets anymore. This particular species of turtle. I think I'm right in saying that. So yeah, you won't really get them. But before, people would buy these, especially obviously during the time of like the 80s, where the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles were extremely popular, and people would say, "Oh, I want a pet turtle," so they would get them. These guys have a long lifespan. This one, along with another yellow belly slider turtle that I have called Michelangelo. They are two turtles that we have rehomed. Somebody was no longer wanting them, because these are actually the oldest animals we have in our care. Roughly, we think they are near 30 years old, so quite old, and can live up to 40 to 50 years. So a long lifespan of these guys. And sadly, a lot of people do release them if they get too big, because you know, when you buy them, little baby turtle, you put them in a little fish tank, and they'll quickly outgrow that fish tank, and then you know, people don't know what to do with them, so they do end up in rescue centres. A lot of them were given to the council for the Dutty Park Garden, so that's why they're living there. But some people aren't very responsible, and they actually just release them into the wild, and that is a big problem if you do that, because these guys could technically live here in the wild, even being they're a cold-blooded animal. Some species of turtle are very well adapted, especially turtles that live Northern America states, so places like up north in Canada. These guys can go underwater, and they can spend their months during the winter down on the bottom, holding their breath for a couple of months as the lake freezes over, and they'll basically hibernate at the bottom of the lake. So some turtles are very well adapted to do this. So if they did get out into the wild, in the ecosystem here in the UK, they could do damage to local wildlife. You see that big sharp mouth he's opening up there? Right, now he is very capable of giving a nasty bite, and these guys can tackle things like small birds, so like ducklings. They'll scoop them up from the surface and take them underground and eat them. So they do eat meat. They're omnivorous animals. They eat, you know, fish, like say birds that find themselves on water, insects, but also a lot of plant life that grows around there as well. So I'm going to let you guys have a closer look here at our crazy little turtle, the angry little turtle. Yeah, and his claws are quite sharp as well. You see, he puts his head right back in as well. But don't want to get anywhere near that beak. Very sharp. When I went on holiday in Florida, I did see a lot of yellow belly slider turtles going around. So there we go. That is obviously the biggest freshwater turtle. Is like the alligator snapping turtle, and they can give you a very nasty bite. It's easy to take a finger off. There we go. That is Donatello. Should we say goodbye? Bye.
And he's off.
He's off. Right. one now, one that's making all the noise. What noise? Hey! This is Rooney. Rooney. Rooney is my redfoot tortoise. So they get the name the redfoot tortoise because of his front legs and his back feet have little red dots on the scales, so that's how it gets the name the redfoot tortoise. Now these tortoises are quite unique because they're actually what you call an omnivorous, well, an omnivorous turtle. Tortoise. We saw the turtle, which is omnivorous, and that's pretty common. Pretty much all turtles are omnivorous, but tortoise are generally herbivores, plant eaters. But these guys are omnivores, so they eat meat as well. Now you might think, well, he's pretty slow moving. You know, how does he catch? How does he catch prey? He can't. He's too slow to catch after animals. But he is a scavenger, so he lives in the Amazon basin. So these guys are found in South America. So next to the Amazon rainforest is a tropical region of tortoise. So they'll be in the undergrowth there munching on the plants. But if they come across a dead animal, they will strip that animal of all the meat, and that's really good for their bone structure. Now you might notice that he has got quite an unusual shaped shell. Now this is sadly what happens when you own tortoise in captivity. Their shells don't grow as well as they should do in the wild, unless you're giving them the proper diet. Now we got Rooney here when he was about 5 years old. He's roughly about 8 years old now, and sadly his shell was already had these almost like it's like pyramids. Now this is because whoever owned this tortoise in the first instance, because they obviously got this tortoise from a pet shop, because they were wanting a pet tortoise, and they were just feeding it veg. Now that's no good, because obviously they need to have meat in their diet to help with the growth of their shell. So you're meant to feed them meat, and so sadly the early stages of his life he wasn't getting the benefits of the food that he really needs, and so his shell has slightly deformed by growing this way like pyramids. It should be smooth and flat, and sadly he got loose this shell. It's not really doing him any harm because his shell is very, very hard, and he is on the correct diet now. Really? Still for 2 seconds, so that people can see you. So you can see he's an extremely active tortoise, this one. Yeah, you'll fall off if you fall down there. So don't, okay? Now, so yeah, he's on the correct diet now, so I do feed him. Occasionally I give him a mouse, just a dead mouse, and he'll strip it. He's very, very good with the sharp beak. In his claws, he will just stick his claws on it, and he'll grab a hold of it, and he just basically shreds it, and he'll eat it up. But easier to feed him, I also feed him cat food. So along with his veg, he gets some cat food, which he really loves. So there we go. This species of tortoise does not hibernate, because obviously in the wild where they live, they are, it's tropical all year round, so they're not a species of tortoise that actually does hibernate. You see him alright from there, yeah?
Yeah.
So he doesn't hibernate, this one. Yeah, really. Yeah. We used to have a teacher at school, and we used to call her Miss Terrapin, and that's because she taught us. Here's my favourite tortoise joke. My mate, he phones me up and he says, "Would you like to come to my fancy dress party?" And I was like, "Yes, I would love to go to your fancy dress party." So I thought, you know what, I'm going to dress up as a tortoise. So the day of the party, off I went out into the street with my wife on my back. I knocked on his door and he says, "What are you supposed to be?" I said, "I'm a tortoise. This is Michelle." So Rooney is actually named after the ex-Aberdeen striker Adam Rooney, not Wayne Rooney, the ex-Man United player. But when we visited a school with him not long after we got Rooney. We was doing a talk on the rainforest, and I asked the children there what do you think we should call him, and they all said Rooney. So I was like, yeah, that's a good name. That's a really good name. So we called him Rooney, and we tweeted on our Twitter to the actual real Adam Rooney and said that we've named this tortoise after you, and he retweeted it to say thank you. So yeah, he's named after the ex-Aberdeen striker. There we go. That is a Rooney, the red-footed tortoise. So yeah, if you've got any questions about any of the animals that we've seen today, remember to leave them in the comment section. I will do the best as I can to answer them. To get back to you all, I'm going to give a closer look at Rooney. Here like this. There we go. Hey Rooney. He's pretty cool. Like Rooney, very active tortoise. So during the summer months, I do let them out in the garden and let them go for a little wander. Keep an eye on them though, because as you can see, look, Rooney is pretty nippy when he wants to nip on. So there we go, Rooney, the red-foot tortoise. So put him back. Okay, so there we go. That is all the animals that we're talking about today, so the turtles and the tortoise. So hope you understand a little bit more about those reptiles, and hope you enjoyed it. So some homework now. I don't know how well you guys obviously can get a hold of materials and things obviously this period of time, but if you have glue in your house, even if it's just like Pritt stick, I thought maybe because of the shape of the tortoise's shell and how it looks, maybe you could do a collage of ripping up bits of paper and designing and sticking down different bits of cut paper, newspaper or magazines, and to make a nice collage of a tortoise's shell, and see how you get on with that. And you can give me you can send that in to us and we have a look at them. So your pictures that you draw some fantastic pictures of sorabilis and chameleons that you guys are sending in. Really good job. So I'm glad you're enjoying keeping yourself busy doing those things. So yeah, if you don't have the materials, you can just draw, if you want colour in a tortoise's shell for me, and show me that. So you can also, if you want to give me some facts, things, it's a pretty good homework for the older children. If you want to think of ways of helping our planet, because I talked about the turtles, they're endangered, and our oceans are extremely important. So you guys can think of some ideas how we could stop, design some kind of contraption that will stop or clean up our oceans. So maybe you can tell me some ideas or other ways of helping recycle some of these plastics that we have. Have a go at that and send that in. Alright, well, thank you ever so much, guys. Now, you guys might also now be watching us on YouTube. Unfortunately, I still don't have the facilities to actually make the YouTube live, but I have got a YouTube channel, so I will be uploading all of the videos up to my YouTube channel as of today. I think the first one should be available to view today. But all the other ones will go up there shortly too, so you can also have a look at those on YouTube. Alright guys, thank you ever so much for tuning in, and I hope to see you all again tomorrow. Now tomorrow's episode is going to be interesting, because I don't know how we're going to do this yet, but we'll give it a go. But I'm trying to hopefully show Rocket the raccoon tomorrow, and we'll give it a go. It might be interesting. It's probably going to be a shorter episode. It's probably going to only be about 15 minutes long, depending on how well we go, because Rocket doesn't tend to sit still for too long, and he can be a bit temperamental at times as well. So we'll wait and see how we get on with that. Alright, and I don't think getting mauled by a raccoon live on Facebook is going to be popular. Or maybe it probably will be. But we'll see. To tomorrow. See you guys. Bye bye.